Code. So here, new file system. What is new file system? What is the concept of new file system? The new file system extra I will tell you. So one is ts config.node.json. So this is node compiler configuration. tsconfig.app.json. This is TypeScript configuration for React app, and tsconfig.json imports settings from node.json and app.json. That is what you will see new here. .jsx, sorry, .tsx for components, hooks, controlled components. .ts for contracts, templates, etc. So these are the extensions. Contracts and templates means abstracts. We maintain using TS. So TypeScript configuration and TypeScript. So you will find instead of JSX, TSX. And why you need contracts? Because reusable rules, separation concerns, we can achieve using TS, right? Let's see. So you can observe there is no more changes. Your index.html, you see src, all files are same. Instead of app.jsx, it is tsx. Main.jsx, tsx. Inside main code also same, right? So here one important is here you can see what is this meaning. So get element by id, what is that meaning is, it is nothing but if it returns true then render, means if it is present then render, if it is not present ignore. You can just verify using that symbol not, it is used to, that means, so if it is present you render the virtual DOM, if it is not present avoid rendering the virtual DOM. And other things are same, there is no change. Index html is same, right? It is using script. So and you see script type is module, and it is tsx main.tsx div root all same. Actually, while designing component, interacting with component also, you will not find much changes. You will not find so many changes, because I told you in the TypeScript you learned that data types are important. But what is developers idea is, they just initialize everything, and when they initialize everything they need not to mention data type. There is no need to mention data type, they just initialize the values. You will see that in real time projects, so many projects where they are using TypeScript, they don't mention data type. Why they don't mention data type? Because they might have initialized it. So what is new, I will show you. New is nothing but approach. What is the approach? Let's do one thing. I will add a new folder. I will create one new folder, components, and I will add a folder called some data binding. Okay, in that I will add another file called data binding.tsx. How to create your component? Same, export function, data binding. No need to mention return types or anything. Why? Because based on what you are returning, automatically its type is configured. You can see its type is JSX element. So inbuilt it is defined. So you don't need to mention all these things. So just your bootstrap, everything same, no changes. What changes are there? I will show. Here, I'm just using data binding. Okay, let's run this in main.tsx data binding, and we will remove this app. We are not using it. And let's run this. So npm run dev. It is same output. You can see everything working same. That means all concepts are working same. There is no change in this. Data binding is working fine. All the features of data binding is same. Only the point, you know how to set styles and all. So I will clean up this index CSS. I will clean up app CSS. So I will just keep everything simple, normal. Okay. Now, what is the point? Now we need to get the data and display data. All concepts are same. That means all libraries are same. There is no change in your libraries. That means setup, Axios and all similar. Let's open that. So npm install. What we will install? Axios. Axios we are installing for API. Okay, let's try to get the data from any API and use it. Let's see how to get the data from API and use it. So this time we are using this some we have dummy JSON. So it is having products. You can see some products details are there, and products recipes, so many. So we have recipes. Okay, now we want to access the data and use it. Now how do you handle this data? How you configure in TypeScript? Let's see what you are expecting. You are expecting an object. In that object you are having recipes, and it is an array of objects, and every object contains lot of details. So many details are there for every object. Initially I will keep it simple with some data. That means I will keep it simple with some details. right? Okay, what we will do is, so how do we handle the communication? We need to get and display. So what we will do is, first, in TypeScript apps, if you are handling interaction with any data across different components, first, better you create one contract. Go to SRC, create contracts. In the contracts, I already explained last session namespace and modular system, how they work. Here in the contracts, we will add a contract called this is recipe contract. So recipe contract dot what TS. This is TS. So TS, because here we want to just create a contract, right? How do we create the contract? Export interface and recipe contract. That's what we are giving. And what are the rules for this? It needs what? So recipes, it is an array, right? Recipes is an array, and important is this recipes so is having an object, and every object contains lot of details. What are the details? ID, name. I will use ID, name. These two are enough. You can put all of them. ID, name, instructions. Okay. So ID, and it is what data type? Number. So you can see ID is a number type. Number. Another name is what type? String. Okay. Ingredients. Ingredients. This is an string type array. We have to mention as string type array. That means you need to configure the data types correctly for them. So what you are expecting, ID, name, and ingredients, right? Okay. Like that, you configure all of them. Suppose you have instructions. Instructions is also a string type array like this. Okay. Now I want to use this recipe contract here because we want to access the data. So what we are expecting? Constant. We are expecting constant. Constant is recipes. Set recipes is equal to use state. This time use state is a generic type. Whenever you configure use state, you have to mention what type of data it should deal. And what type of data it should deal? What type of data it should deal? You have to import a contract. How to import contracts? Last session, I told you the new way of importing contract from new version. You have to mention as what? Type. Type, what is it? Recipe contract from contract. And this should use the recipe contract. It should use recipe contract. That means now we have recipes and the recipes are of recipe contract type. One more interesting point is that what is the concept is, so if you don't initialize, that means you don't initialize. So then what happens is recipes, and recipes is an array. It is expecting some array. That means it is an object. It is expecting recipes array. It is again having some object. If you no need to initialize actually. If you don't initialize, then what will happen is, if you don't initialize, then it is treated as null. If you don't initialize, it is treated as null. Until the data comes, it is nullable. Once the data comes, it will use. Until the data comes, it is null. Then see what happens now is all rest of concepts are same. Use effect at the time of mounting. There is no change. So here Axios dot get from where, copy this URL. We need to get from this URL dot then. So we have response and we need to just use set recipes as response dot what data. It's ready. That means the data is in recipes. How to read all the recipes and print them. See the point here. I'm using order list. Now how to do recipes dot. You can see there is recipes. Recipes is an object in that recipes collection. You can access by using map. And we need to read every item. We need to read every item. And for every item, we need to generate a list item. And we need to configure. So key must be what? So it will be item dot id. And here we will have value, that is item dot what name. That's how we are configuring. That means we are accessing all the recipes and we are generating a list item for that. So we are fetching the data from here and we are displaying the data here. Right? So you see now here it is accessing all the data and showing. Only the point is earlier what we have done is while working with such data, we initialized everything. We initialized everything. That is not reusable. Now what we can do, we can create a contract and we can import the contract anywhere we want, we have to use. For example, you are building a to-do application. Create one contract for user, create one contract for appointments so that you can import and use anywhere. You don't need to define every time. One more point issue I will tell you. See, suppose roughly temporarily I am having some categories. Suppose I'm having so constant categories is equal to array all some electronics, so fashion, something footwear, like this we are having. Now observe here, I am using another reference data. You say, yeah, menu items, set menu items. I'm using like this and is equal to use state. And into that, we are passing here. So a string type array. And we are passing categories. That means by default, categories are string type array. We are initializing those values. Now see what we are doing. We are just creating, suppose, a drop down. How to access categories, data dot what? Sorry, menu items. No? Menu items dot map. And you see we are reading every item and we are creating which one? Option. Key is item. The value is also item. We are defining like this. Now what we are doing, we are creating a drop down and through the drop down we are trying to access. See, it is unable to access and display. So why it is unable to access and display these categories? It is an array only. Observe what issue it shows here. When I am reading, you can see that. So it is having some problem related to recipes. Cannot read recipes. It is not related to, it is not related to your categories. It is related to recipes. See here, why it is showing related to recipes. It is saying that cannot read properties of undefined recipes. Undefined recipes means it is saying that this recipes data is not received. it is not received. So you see now here we haven't initialized the data. Here we are not initializing the data. No initialization, but here we have initialized the data. Now, if you are not initializing, I will put here question mark, recipes question mark map. That means you see here, when I put question mark, you see still it is having problem. So what is the point here is why recipes have a problem. This is recipes, this is the main recipe. If I put question mark here, that means the main data. Now you can see the data will come perfectly. That means what is this question mark? I already told you that if you don't initialize, before the data is initialized, it is null. And you know that TypeScript supports union of types. That means before the data comes, it is null. Once the data comes, it knows the data. That means it is saying that so a nullable type cannot be directly used. If you don't initialize, you cannot directly use. Okay, we will do one thing here. See, that's the point here. Why we need observe carefully. Here we are not initializing. We are not initializing. Obviously, there is no data. That means data will not be there. Right? It cannot read map. It cannot define map. You initialize categories. Now there is no problem. It is working fine. If I am not initializing, then you cannot directly use it. You have to use through null reference. What is that null reference? Question. You have to use through that null reference. That means here, if I initialize, okay, let's remove this null reference. And you can see that now when I remove the null reference, it's showing error. What I will do is I will go and initialize. How to initialize what type of data you are expecting? I am expecting an object. In that object, we have what? Recipes. Recipes is what type? Array. And in that array, we have another object. It is having ID. So, which is what type? Number. So, that means I will initialize to 0. Second one is name. It is a string. I will initialize to string. Another one is what else we are having? Ingredients. Ingredients is an array. So it is an empty array. Another one is what else? In the contract, we have instructions. Instructions is also an array. Now I initialize. Once I initialize it, you can see that no need of question mark. You can see here, I am not using question mark. That means if you are initializing, there is no need of mentioning nullable because you already initialized that it will have this type. If you don't initialize, it thinks that I don't know any data. I don't know the type because data comes, we already know the life cycle. In the life cycle, data will not come at the time of creating component. Data will come at the time of mounting the component. Then at the time of creating component, it puts an error saying that it is nullable. So you see now, I will delete this. It's working now. I will remove this. If I don't initialize, what will happen? Then again it shows error. Then what we have to do? We have to set it with what? Question mark. Now you can see that it is working fine. There is no issue in this. So this is very important. One new concept you need to know. So that means when you configure state, in the state, if you don't initialize, then you have to recognize it as nullable. You need to mark it as nullable. It is considered as nullable, right? I will show you the point here. Use state with the TypeScript. It is generic type. It is generic type. Second point is it is default nullable. It is default nullable. So if data is initialized into state, then you can directly access. If data is not initialized, then you need null reference character to access state. You need null reference character to access state. So that is one. Syntactically, constant use state. Suppose string array. You have defined like this. And you are trying to use data dot map. This is error. Cannot use map. Data question mark dot map. This is valid. Why you cannot use map? Because it is null. On null, you cannot apply map. Now this is valid. So if constant data is equal to use state and a string type array, it is initialized with string type array. Then we can directly use data dot map. This is valid. So this is valid, but not required. Not required to define. Define with null reference character. So while working with use state, that is one new thing you will find. Okay, what else new important here is I will give the example, but what else new is, suppose you are writing, let's say, constant search string, set search string is equal to use state. It is a string type. So it is empty string. We are initializing empty. So we are writing some text box. Input type is text. Okay. and we will write an event. Event is a function. So we have a function handle search change. Okay. On search change here, on change, handle search change. All are same. Now we need to collect the data through what? Event arguments. E. What is its data type? What is the data type of E? E contains element properties. E contains event properties, element methods, event methods. So what is the data type of E? Any type, huh? Obviously it is showing error because you have to mention data type, right? Any type, huh? But any type will take any type. What is its data type? All events in React are derived from all events in React are of what type? All events in React are of what type? They are all synthetic event type. I told you na, synthetic event is the base for events. I showed you also event arguments all derived from synthetic event base. So this data type is synthetic event type. If it is synthetic event type, suppose set search string. So we can access E dot, you can see you have target dot what value. You can access the value. But you can see it is showing error, doesn't exist on event target. It doesn't exist on event target. Suppose if I don't mention, means actually it has to have the value, but unfortunately value is not directly available. So then if I don't mention the type, now you can see it is considering, and see the data type here. It is any type. By default it is any type, but actually we need to make it strongly typed as what type? Synthetic event type. But what happens is in synthetic event, so until it knows the specific category of event, that means is it button event or is it change event? If it doesn't know that, then it cannot access the values. Then what we have to do, actually, so I will remove this. Yeah, I'll remove this. Yeah, you'll see right click on change and you observe on change is what type? What is the data type? Change event handler. It is change event handler. That means the data type is React change event handler. That means you configure this as, so change event handler. It is of change event handler. We are configuring change event handler. Then you mention E dot. So you can see E dot, there is no option here. E dot name. Value is not there. We don't have a value. You can see what is another type it is having, change event. For example, I'm using the base type as change event. That means we are configuring change event. Then through that E, we are accessing target dot value. It is still not available because many change events don't have a value. Now I will just temporarily put console.log and a search string. I'm just using search string. You see now it is not showing any error, and I'm entering some data. You can see it is working fine. Then why it is showing error, and how do we prevent the error? For this also I showed solution. If you remembered, I told you about a concept called optional chaining. Remember the optional chaining? That means here you define the value doesn't exist. Okay. Suppose if I mention this is question mark, right? So that means the value doesn't exist. Value doesn't exist on the target. Then what you have to do? We have to use optional chaining. I applied the question mark on that. Here it is showing error. It is saying that event target and element doesn't have value, because value doesn't belong to event. Value belong to element. Value belong to element. Then can I mention union of type? In that union, it is another HTML element type. HTML element type. Now you can see that it is target, and you see target doesn't exist because what it is doing. I will do one thing. I will show you here. Means I will clean up all this. So this, because see, in a general interviews, na, to confuse, they will ask such points at experience level. So you observe it is using what it is, HTML input element, another one which handler, change event handler. So that means now you define E. It is a union of two types. One is change event, or if I say synthetic event is base for all. Or what is it? HTML input element. I mentioned input element. Now it says that the target doesn't exist. Target doesn't exist. Suppose if I put question mark and still it is not available. Target doesn't exist. If I put question mark, still it is not possible. But see here, console.log, I am using, what is it? E dot, search string. I am using search string. You see here, when I define that, I am entering something, it's working fine. That means why it is showing as warning, because it says that that is not exists, but it can dynamically come. It may dynamically add. So this is all risky process of configuring the events. That's the reason, if you are dealing with type and you want to handle both event arguments as well as element properties, actually you have to mention like this. You have to mention like this. But 100% you will see that in real world projects, they don't do that. They simply configure this as in real world projects also, they configure as what type? Any. They configure as any type. Any means it can handle any type. Actually, we can manage using optional chaining. But if anyone asks you like what should be the what is the actual type of event argument, then you have to tell it is of two types. What are those? Synthetic event. Another one is, you don't need to tell change event because elements may be different events. Synthetic event is base for all. So synthetic event. Another one is union HTML input element. HTML input element. But majority of the situation we don't prefer. We just mention this as what? Any. any, because it has both boolean, number, string, array, all types are present inside event arguments and element arguments, right? But you should know the point. You should know the point here. So event arguments, events concept is same. There is no change. All events are derived from synthetic event base. They are derived from synthetic event base. Event argument type is a union of, one is a synthetic event and HTML input element. It is a union of these two. What HTML event will do? This will handles event properties and methods. This handles element properties and methods. However, so to handle all properties and methods, it is recommended to use any as type for event arguments. Actually, synthetic event and HTML input element. Event arguments. Even you don't mention default, it's take any. But actually it is a combination of two, synthetic event and HTML input, because that's what we learned in definition, right? Event arguments can handle event details and element details. Now, another key point here is, what is property type? Another is props in controlled components. So you can use a contract for controlled components, controlled components properties. You can use a contract for controlled components properties. So you can also configure a schema for props. You can also configure a schema for props. That means generally when you create, suppose navbar we are creating. Navbar is a controlled component. Then it needs props. What is the data type? Data type is an schema. In the schema, it will have title. It is string type. It will have menu items, which is an array. It will have theme, which is a string type, like this. Array of what type? String type. This is how we define props. That is one way. What is another way? Create a contract and use it. That means what we do, interface I navbar, and it is having title string, menu items string, theme string. We are configuring this. So we are having function navbar, and it is props I navbar. That is good because it is reusable. Na? If we want same across various locations, better do this. Otherwise, you can directly define the schema. You can configure the schema. So I'm just showing the changes, what changes are there. Because already I told you that majority changes are related to data type specification. Now, others are same. There is no change in Formic libraries, YUP libraries. All are same. But some change you will find while working with MUI, Material UI. Almost everything same. Material UI also slight changes in data type. But almost you will not find much difference, right? We discussed MUI na Material UI. In Material UI, you have components, and components we can have different components, right? So observe, actually, you have seen MUI, Material UI components. You see in the Material UI, when you look at components, like we learned some components. Suppose we have a text field component, or we learned card. Suppose there is a card component. Card is a component. And you will observe that when they give an example here, show code, when you select show code, you see JavaScript and TypeScript. And for TypeScript, you will not see any change. Actually, you will not see any change. Both are same. You will not find any change. I am switching JS and I am switching TS. You will not see any change. Everything is same. Why? Because you will not see much changes other than data type until or unless they need some data type to configure. So almost all components look and work same as you done in JavaScript. There is no change in that. So now we are good with understanding, are there any changes? Custom hooks you have to write by using TSX. Only contracts you use TS. You have to use TS. Okay. Now what we will do, we will try to build one app, one small application using TypeScript and React. No need to explain others because all other concepts are same. All your hooks, events, everything same. No change in that. So now we are going to learn, we are going to build one. We are going to build one project with React and TypeScript. We are going to build one project with React and TypeScript. Actually, so we will design a MERN stack application. We'll create a MERN stack application. We'll design one MERN stack application. And actually, to build any project, you need prior knowledge of some backend, because React is, already we know, React is not for building apps. It is for building user interfaces. App means 100%. You need complete knowledge of any backend technologies. Right here, I'm not teaching any backend, but I will give a simple overview which you can practice without knowledge of any backend. Without learning backend also you can practice, but we recommend to know backend technologies. So otherwise it's not for you, right? But you can practice what I'm showing as it is, and you can build one end-to-end app. We'll see that. Actually, what is this MERN stack? M for MongoDB. This is for database. We will use for database. E for Express.js. This is as middleware for creating APIs. So we will create server side API, and R is for React. This is for front end. So front end UI, and N for Node.js. Node.js is server script. Server script. So server side scripting is done by using Node.js, right? So now creating servers, configuring communication between client and server, everything we will manage using this. So this is a MERN stack application we are going to build. So what we will do is, I will create a video library project. We will create one video library app, video library application. What this video library project can do is, it have two modules. Admin module. So what admin can do is, admin can log in, add videos, edit videos, delete videos. Admin can log in and he can add videos, edit videos, and delete videos. So these are the operations admin can do. Admin can do. We can add more functionalities, but simple I will show here. Another one is user module. So user uh, user must register, login, and user dashboard. With user dashboard allows to view, like, dislike, or comment on video. So user can share video. So for this we will use Redux. You can use Redux. With other users we can share. So dashboard allows to filter, sort, search, videos. You can filter, sort, search videos. All these type of things we can do. So that means when anybody logs in, means whenever anybody opens our project, we will give him two screens, user screen, another admin screen. We will give two options. If he is admin, he can directly log in. We will not give any admin registration. One admin details we will keep in database. He can directly log in, only log in. And he can add videos, edit videos, delete. And adding videos, what we will do is we will do that using embed with YouTube. We will use YouTube embedded videos. We are not allowing to upload a video file, so they can use YouTube embedded videos so that you can show them using iframes in our terminal. User module can register, must register, login, and dashboard allows to view, like, filter, sort, search the videos. But user cannot delete, edit the videos. User can only performs these operation. Admin can edit, delete videos. That means all the CRUD operations are involved, all the search features are involved in this. Same like dashboard, only the point, same like you done in to do. Only the point here is, for this, what happens? Database we will maintain in MongoDB. Server side logic we will write in Express and Node. UI we will build in React. We'll build in React. So first what you have to do is, so you need to set up database. You need to set up database. Means people who know already database, they can easily do. If you are not aware of anything, then it is difficult. But for you also, I will give a process you follow. That's enough. You can try. You can do it, right? What you have to do is download and install MongoDB community server. Community server on your PC. So directly MongoDB community server. Because if you directly open MongoDB, you will be confused, because Mongo is a cloud system. It has a lot of things which will confuse you. Directly you can go to the download community. You have to download the community server and select MongoDB Compass while installing server. Actually, so Compass is a client tool. Through MongoDB Compass, you can communicate with MongoDB server. It's a simple installation process, just like how you done your Node.js and all. Same. There is nothing complicated. And what we have to do is open MongoDB Compass and create a new connection. With the connection string, the connection string will be MongoDB : /127.0.0.1 27017. That is the MongoDB connection string. that is a common connection string. You have to use this connection string to connect with MongoDB. So here, this is MongoDB Compass. This is Compass. You will see MongoDB Compass like this. And you will see a new connection. Go to that new connection and enter this connection string. MongoDB localhost is our local server name. Its IP address is 127.0.0.1. Port number compulsory 27017. And when you save and connect, that means it is created like this. So every day you don't need to create a connection. You have to just connect, right? First time you will create a new connection with the connection string. After that, every day you can just connect. And when you click connect, it will connect and it will show the databases here. And I hope you people know MongoDB is semi-structured data. It is not structured data. It is a semi-structured data and it supports ORM, object relational mapping, right? So MongoDB is just same like your JSON type. It uses a data type called BSON, binary object notation. Same like JSON. All that means if you know JavaScript, you can easily handle this, right? Now what we have to do is here we need to learn how to create a database and how do we write server side logic and interact with the database. That means we will build one database. Up to this, if you do, I will show you how to create database and how to write APIs, our own APIs, and then we can build the UI. That we'll see tomorrow. First, you install up to this and keep it ready. Tomorrow, we will learn creating database. I will give you some introduction about database commands because MongoDB is non-SQL, no SQL queries. All JavaScript like methods will be there. You will not have select star from table and all these. These simple methods, if you know them, we can easily create. Remember, this is just an extra for the people who are learning backend. Otherwise, in React, this is not a concept, right? I'm just giving a idea for the people who learned backend to show them how to use the real backend and connect with React. That I'm showing in one project so that you can easily manage. Only the point in your technologies, you will replace Node.js and Express with JSP, PHP, ASP.NET like technologies. You will have web services, APIs, and that API we have to consume and use in React. Tomorrow we will start building this app. Okay. So if we can build this and see up to database API, I will give the complete process. UI you have to build. User interface you have to build. I will give the ideas. If you want, I will share the sample code also because already several batch people done this. I will share that. You can see and design. You can learn. Up to API creation, I will show. Rest of design you have to do. Same like to do application you have to create. I will give idea, you can implement. Right? Then tomorrow will continue.